Jesus more.
My dear brothers and sisters, we are almost over the healing ministry of Jesus from the beginning of Mark's Gospel. There is a lot of a series of healing and deliverance. And now we come to the section which is really more about the encounter between Jesus and the Pharisees and the scribes. And today in the Gospel, it starts with that. Jesus encountering the scribes and the Pharisees. And it does not actually say that the Pharisees were asking this question about Jesus. It was actually some other people. We don't know these people, might be the Pharisees themselves, but it just says John's disciples and the Pharisees were fasting, and some people came and they asked Jesus. So we don't know these people, but maybe they are in the middle. They are not even the disciples of Jesus. They are not the disciples of John or the Pharisees. So just a neutral people, and they are asking Jesus why they're asking the disciples of Jesus, why is it that John's disciples and the disciples of the Pharisees, they fast, yet your disciples do not fast? So I will come back to that. But first of all, let us think about the message of fasting. And fasting is always associated with sadness, but also a time of waiting. And this is why Jesus brings the analogy of new wine and old wineskin. Old wine meaning the old covenants of waiting for the coming of the Messiah. The disciples of John were fasting. They received baptism in preparation for the coming of Christ. And Jesus says that his coming is like a wedding. And during a wedding, it's a time of feasting. So we cannot have fasting during a wedding. It is a time of feasting. So the old covenant of fasting is now old wine and now being replaced by a new wine, which is a new covenant of feasting. The coming of Jesus is a time of rejoicing. Even though the Pharisees and maybe the disciples of John do not recognize that it is a time of feasting, because Jesus now is the bridegroom, and we, the church, are the bride. And this is a period not of fasting, but it's a period of feasting. It's a period that the apostles themselves have recognized that this is the Messiah. This is he who has come. And therefore, we cannot put that old wineskin of fasting, of waiting, of wailing, in anticipation for the coming of the Messiah. We cannot put that into this new system that Jesus has brought, the new covenants that Jesus has brought, the covenants of his own presence, coming with new teaching, coming with healing, coming with deliverance, coming with a new way of life that is offering each and every one of us. So it's a time not of fasting, but now the new covenant is a time of feasting. That's why he brings this analogy of new wine and new wineskin. New wine, new wineskin, and old wine cannot be put in a new wineskin, or new wine cannot be put in the old wineskin. So this is the new thing that has happened. But then we go back again to the people coming and asking the disciples of Jesus, why is it that the disciples of John are fasting, the disciples of the Pharisees are fasting, but your own disciples do not fast? This is something that we find all along, even in our lives as Christians, that people tend to put others as models. This was really the problem of the Israelites when they decided to choose, and they asked Samuel, we want a king. We want a king, Saul. We want Saul as our king. We want a king. We want to be like other nations. So people become the model, not God. They say now we don't want God to rule us. We want a king for ourselves to take us to battle and fight for us. They forget all about what God has done for them from the very beginning till that moment. They say, no, we don't want to live with an invisible king. No, that is not the point. And this is what happens in the gospel today. They come and they say, no, this is what these people do. You should be doing that. It is not about what is right, but it's about what people are doing. Okay? And it happens also everywhere. Like I said, there are times we end up in the parish, and then the parish priest is transferred, and then we are brought in. No, we are not, the old parish priest was not like that. He did this and this. It doesn't matter whether they are doing the right thing or not, insofar it's not something we are used to. No, we do not want that. These people come to Jesus, and they want the apostles to follow the models of the Pharisees and the disciples of John. The disciples of the Pharisees and the disciples of John. You must do what they do. It is not about the relationship, because fasting is all done is gearing towards a relationship. It's gearing towards a relationship with God. And they do not care about that, insofar as you must do what they did, what they used to do. If you do not do that, then you are outside of everything. And that's why they approach Jesus and they ask that question. Why is it that the Pharisees and the disciples of John are fasting? The disciples of the Pharisees do that, and you do not do that. The model is no longer about what is right, but it's about what the other people did. You must do that. It doesn't matter whether it's going to bring you to a relationship with God or not. No, you must do that. Do what they used to do. You must fast as they used to fast. It's not about relationship. And that's why it's so important to remember again, the importance of fasting is because of the coming of the bridegroom, and yet that relationship is there already. The apostles already have Jesus with them. What is the need of fasting? That's why even in the liturgy, we used to have this thing. I don't know if it still happens, about 1 hour fasting before the Eucharist, right? It used to be there before, but most of the time now, I even fall victim of that. Immediately after Mass, when you go for this Misanga Patai, immediately after Mass, we are already eating. Forget about 30 minutes of fasting after and 30 minutes of fasting before. I mean, we do the fasting because we are in anticipation of the coming of Jesus. And once we receive Jesus in the liturgy of the Word and in the Eucharist, now it is time of feasting. It is a feast, it's a banquet. But then when after Mass again, after we receive that, then we need some time again of fasting before we come to the real food. And this is symbolic of what Jesus is talking about in the gospel, that we fast in anticipation of Jesus, and once we receive Jesus, then it is a time not of fasting, but a time of feasting. A wedding feast is a time of eating, it's a time of rejoicing, and that moment is the moment that the apostles have come in contact with the Messiah, with Jesus himself. And once Jesus comes, it is no longer old wine in new wineskin, but now it is new wine, the new wine of the new covenant, the new wine of feasting, not of fasting. So my dear brothers and sisters, as we continue to reflect on this gospel, and as we continue to go through this liturgy, let us continue to ask God for the gift of grace to remain always faithful to Him, and to be able to recognize and discern that moment in which He Himself is present in our lives, that we may rejoice with His presence in everything that we do. And most especially as well, not to put people as the model, but Jesus Himself. Let us remember the gospel acclamation today. Accept God's message for what it really is, and not some human thinking. It is not about what people do, but it's about what God wants from us.
Kiss us, mother, kiss your children. Bring God's blessings from above. With your mantle blue enfold us in your gentle holy love. See the darkness dissipating, hear the trumpet echoing, Satan's rage